I carry you when you're unable to see. I take care of you when you're trapped in a place of darkness and when who you are is out of sight and you only understand part of who you portray to be. I take care of you when I shift your frame of thinking and mold you onto your path, but that only comes about when you put faith and trust in me. You are my child, my children, the pure reflection of a dove. I died on the cross, beaten by enemies that soon bowed to me in guilt, just so you can live abundantly, spreading my love. For you to say you're not a king, yet it took a king to die for you, to die for them. For you to say you're not a queen, yet it took a righteous one to stand beside him. It's almost like washing your hands of the power I've given you. Understand that because I am who I am, the great I am, you are my people. And I've designed you to walk in my light. But how could you ever portray to be Christ-like if you don't even know your name? King, queen. It took him a while to fully grasp who he was. Because for the longest, he only knew what his neighborhood said he was supposed to be. That 17-year-old dropout, failing to even gain the equivalent of a high school diploma, a GED, because what is the necessity of an education when you reside on the streets? And just as a sidebar, any person who wants to be potentially successful in the profession of selling weed and any other illegal substance for that fact and had customers plenty would have to be good at math. But book smarts was lacking, so he couldn't even excel in that. Just saying. His mother was too young to really know how to raise him, and his father was genetically born with the disease to have sex with a woman, and as soon as the term pregnancy came up, that was his cue to leave. So in her mind, the damage was already done. There was no point in trying to teach her son a different way, a gentleman to rehearse, because morals and values is not something you can find in a book. It's obvious. This was a continuation of a generational curse. So he began practicing that boy that wanted your number first and your name later. That son that was selfishly hurting you to make himself happy. He thought with his genitals, therefore he thought like his daddy. Generational curse. That wannabe man that lived off that naive girl who dumbfoundedly let him in, that nameless king who was unknowingly paying for these sins and things, living a lifestyle that was in every way contrary to his spiritual being, yet he is still a king. It might sound odd, but oddly enough, that's who God created him to be. Follow me. Misconstrued thinking led her to believe she was the definition of ugly. Never searching for God on the living when she became used to, so for every teenage boy who could whisper something sweet was every second her knees became a little more weak, and every time she decided to open her legs and her spirit, the devil became a little more deep. She said she would never be beautiful enough because to be that in her mind, you had to be pure. So therefore, if you were ever in a situation where your virtue was forcibly taken and there was no way to get it back, you could look at a virtuous young woman today who was ready to give it away, and somehow in her mind, you would still never be as beautiful as that. Not to add that her thinking was off track, but she couldn't stand straight because her daddy was the one who put her flat on her back. So to a certain degree, I can understand, but understand that no man deserves anything from you for free, queen. I look at your hand and I see no ring, so therefore there should be no conversation of anything that's dangling in between. I identify with your pain.
Come on, Mariah.
Because your jewel was taken. But understand that substituting the word with the world is no justification, queen. Unknowingly, she was paying for these sins and things, living a lifestyle that was in every way contrary to her spiritual being. Yet, she is still a queen. It might sound odd, but oddly enough, that's who God created her to be. Follow me. It doesn't matter what decisions you've made. It doesn't matter where or how you've been raised. God has created a life for you to walk in and has purposely given you a name. King, queen. As boys growing into young men and young men finding your king, understand that daddying a child and fathering one are two totally different things. But if your mentality is advanced enough, then you wouldn't even engage in the act initially until you have found that queen that you promise to love, respect, and cherish for eternity. And even though now you should, understand that eventually you'll want a queen. So don't waste your time satisfying your flesh temporarily and miss out on a blessing. And to my queens, it's time to raise the standard. Nowadays, we make it too easy. It's easy to let a guy come into your life based off the sweet nothings he's feeding you that are all equated to lies. Eventually give him what he's after and then watch him away easily. Fly, queen. You deserve nothing less than a king. Not a boy trying to imitate one, or grown man still trying to figure out what it means. But a king. It's not based off the material things, but it's based off the mentality. But as a teen, before you worry about a guy, worry about yourself. Because as you're perfecting yourself in God, prioritizing your life and making your list to do, you won't have to look, search, and worry. Because that king will certainly find you. Queen, king.